Cruising has been popular with couples and families for years, but cruising solo is definitely a growing trend, with more and more people saying that they would like to try out cruising on their own. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now, cruises do offer a unique environment. After all, on a cruise, you can dine, be entertained, relax, and visit interesting destinations all in one vacation. In fact, it sounds like it could be a solo traveler's perfect vacation. Now, solo cruising is gaining popularity. However, if you are considering cruising solo, there are a few things that you should know. Now, in this video, I'm going to go through 12 things that you should know if you're planning on cruising solo. I'll also share some tips and answer some frequently asked questions. Now, before I get started, I did want to mention that if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. Number one, there is a difference between cruising solo and cruising single. Now, this was something that was pointed out to me by a friend who recently went on her first solo cruise, but it was also something that many members of the Lifewell Cruise Facebook community had said as well. Now, there's nothing wrong with either, but these are two different types of cruise travelers. Now, those who are looking for a singles cruise might want a fun party atmosphere and may be looking for potential romantic encounters. Now, in contrast, solo cruisers may or may not be married or in committed relationships, but they are traveling alone. Now, those who are cruising single might be looking for singles events and parties, and they're hoping to meet like-minded people to hang around with during their cruise. Whereas solo cruisers may be more interested in making some casual friendships, visiting destinations, and relaxing on their own. Now, I should mention that many solo cruisers say that they enjoy both cruising on their own and cruising with family and friends. And both offer a different experience that they enjoy. Now, why would people cruise solo? Well, a lot of people say that they cruise solo because it gives them the freedom to do what they want when they want. They don't have to wait for other people to be able to take vacation time. They can go on a cruise, they can relax, they can visit destinations, they can enjoy time on the cruise ship, eating and being entertained, and they enjoy the pleasure of their own company. Many solo cruisers explain that it's nice to not have to be responsible for anybody else but themselves. Now, getting into some things that are a little bit more practical, you might be wondering, if you are thinking about cruising solo, what is it like dining on your own? Now, for this, we did turn to the Lifewell Cruise community, who gave us some great tips. One question or concern that I've seen come up is, will I feel awkward or lonely if I am eating on my own? And what solo cruisers say is no. Many more people eat on their own and cruise solo than you might think, and it really doesn't feel lonely or awkward at all. However, if you do want to meet and you would prefer to eat with other people, you can definitely do that on a cruise. So one tip is to ask for a shared table in the main dining room. Now, you'll want to ask for a shared table that is large, so about 8 people or so, rather than a table of 4, because it does give you more opportunity to find other people at the table that you may have something in common with. Now, you can also eat on your own in the main dining room. The main dining rooms now do have tables for 2, and you can definitely sit on your own. You may even find that there's other people that are sitting on their own, and you may be seated near other people, so you can talk a little bit, eat on your own as well, and really be at your own pace. And by the way, if you like, you can even consider bringing a book. Now, of course, you don't need to confine yourself to the main dining room. You can also eat in the buffet, where it will be much more casual, and you can eat in one of the specialty restaurants as well. Number 4, make sure to buy an internet package. So if you are cruising on your own and perhaps you have your family or your friends that are back home, it really is important to keep in touch, let them know how everything is going, and it's also a good opportunity to send photos, messages, and emails. Now, if you are cruising on a budget, consider getting the basic internet package. That's usually enough to send messages and to go on social media, or get the social media package. Now, a big concern for many who are thinking about doing a solo cruise is, how do you make your pre and post cruise arrangements in a way that you feel secure when you are traveling on your own? So I do have a few tips here for you. So of course, try to fly in always the day before, but when it comes to the hotel, you'll want to find a hotel that is ideally near the cruise port. Chances are, if you're at a hotel near the cruise port, you're going to find that there are other people that are going to your cruise ship as well. Now, if you are feeling a little bit uneasy about the hotel, you can actually book a pre-cruise hotel through your cruise line. In many cases, when you do that, you'll have the transfers included. So you'll have somebody there to escort you from the airport to the hotel, and then from the hotel to the cruise port the next day. Now, if you don't want to do that, that's okay, but make sure that you do have your arrangements for transportation, that you've researched that in advance and you feel comfortable. Now, when it comes to choosing the hotel, make sure that there is a restaurant that is very close by so that you can quickly slip out for dinner. And if you can find a hotel that has a store with some incidentals close by, that is really practical as well. Now, while it's really nice to cruise on your own, you might be wondering, how do I meet people if I want to meet people? Well, there are a few ways. Firstly, you can start with, before your cruise, you can join one of the Facebook groups or the roll call on one of the different forums, including Cruise Critic. This is a good way to meet people virtually before the cruise. You could talk about destinations, the cruise itself, and even make a few casual virtual friendships. Now, many times in these roll calls or cruise groups, there will be some get-togethers on the cruise, either formal or informal. Now, if there is a get-together, I do suggest that you go. Even if you don't click with everyone, at least you will meet some people in person, and it will give you some faces that you recognize, and that is always nice during your cruise. Now, most cruise ships will also have a solo travelers get-together, or sometimes a singles get-together. They'll almost always have that the very first night of the cruise, but some cruise lines will have several of them throughout the cruise. Now, most of the time these events are not hosted. However, I have heard recently that Norwegian Cruise Line does host their solo events. If you've ever been to any of the solo get-togethers from any of the different cruise lines, please let me know the experience down in the comments below. I know it will help others. Now, as we talked about earlier, another way to meet people, of course, is to do the shared table in the dining room. Now, cruise ships are great places to socialize if you want to, or even if you are an introvert, you could join activities and classes and meet people casually that way. Now, if you go to the nightclub, you're definitely going to find some singles and some solo passengers. So whether you want to meet singles that you actually want to hang around with, or you simply like to dance, you can definitely go check out the nightclub, and I think you will find a little bit of a solo and a singles scene. Happy hour at your favorite bar. There will be many bars around the cruise ship that will have a happy hour, so usually sometime in the late afternoon and before dinner. And these are really casual places where a lot of times people will talk either around the bar or in the different seating areas, and definitely you can strike up a conversation with other people that are there. And simply around the cruise ship, if you've been on a cruise before, you know that most of the time people are pretty friendly, and it's easy to talk to people whether you're in line at the buffet or you're waiting for an elevator. Staying safe in port. Although it's unlikely for anything to happen, the fact is that traveling on your own does have some element of risk. So you do want to, when you do go to the cruise ports, you do want to kind of play it safe. Some ways to do that is to book an excursion through the cruise line. If you book your excursion through the cruise line, not only will you have the convenience and the assurance that the cruise ship won't leave without you, but you do have other people that you'll be going with from the cruise ship. And in that way, you have other people that you can rely on if you need them. Now, if you don't book an excursion, make sure that you do stay close by to the cruise ship. If you just walk around the terminal and go shopping in that area, you should be fine. And make sure as well that you do stay within the tourist areas. Within the tourist areas or close by to the terminal and the popular attractions, you really should be fine. But in any of the different areas, you do not want to veer off on your own. And you can also consider joining other passengers. If you've met people on the ship and they're perhaps taking a cab to a local beach, you can simply ask them if you can join them and split the cab. People on cruise ships are usually very friendly, and a lot of times people say that they've actually met different people, whether they were couples or they were singles themselves, that did really look after each other. Make the most of your days on your cruise by checking out the Cruise Line app, and you can check your cruise planner as well. So you'll want to check out all of the different activities that are offered, all of the different entertainment options. And also really important is check out the opening and the closing hours so that you are not disappointed. The dreaded singles supplement. So while cruising solo is gaining popularity and cruise lines are making it easier and more affordable to cruise on your own, what that means is that when you see the price of a cruise and perhaps it says that it's $700 for a 7-day cruise for one person, that is at double occupancy rates. So in other words, that cabin, if you were 2 people, would cost $1,400. So whether you were 2 people in the cabin or one, the pricing is still going to be $1,400. Now, don't let that scare you because there are different promotions and different ways of booking that you'll want to check out. So firstly, sometimes cruise lines do have promotions where either they waive or they've reduced the single supplement. So instead of paying double or having 100% single supplement, you may find that the single supplement is 50% or 25%. Or if you're lucky, they've waived the supplement and there is none at all. Now, some cruise lines do have cabins that are made specifically for solo cruisers that are priced at a single occupancy rate. So a lot of people have heard of Norwegian Cruise Line that does have their studio cabins, but you do have a few of these cabins on some other cruise lines as well, including Celebrity and Royal Caribbean. Now, one thing to keep in mind is although these are cabins that are priced at single occupancy rates, there are very few of them on each cruise ship. So sometimes the price of these single occupancy cabins may be the same or more or close to the price of a cabin for two people in an interior cabin. So it is always worth checking out the prices and comparing. So what type of cabin should you choose if you're planning on going on a solo cruise? So of course you can choose those studio cabins, but keep in mind that those are going to be a little bit smaller cabins. Now, many times those are interior cabins. On Celebrity, on their Edge class ships, they do have some single occupancy veranda cabins. Now, I do have to give a special mention to Norwegian Cruise Line because their studio cabins have some advantages beyond the price. When you're booked in a studio cabin on a Norwegian cruise ship, you do have access to the studio lounge. Now, that studio lounge does offer some space for those who are cruising solo to get together, even to plan some events. But something that might be important to some people is there also is an element of security because the studio lounge and all of the cabins are only accessible by keycard access. Now, an interior cabin is usually an affordable option and it will give you more space than a studio cabin. Of course, you also can take an ocean view cabin, which usually has about the same amount of space as an inside cabin, but the benefit of that window. And a lot of solo cruisers do say that they actually do enjoy having the balcony. Now, the balcony, of course, is more expensive than an interior cabin, but if it will really add to your experience because perhaps you can sit out on the balcony, having a glass of wine, or maybe reading a book, or even catching the sunrise or sunset, it may really add to your solo cruising experience. Now, I do have a little money saving tip for you, and that is if you don't really mind the interior cabin, consider booking an interior cabin, and many cruise lines now do have that bidding up program that you can bid for a higher category cabin. So take the inside cabin, pay that lower price, and bid the minimum or just a little bit above the minimum for a balcony cabin. And if you do end up winning that bid, that cabin will be a pleasant surprise. Cruising solo is definitely gaining popularity. Now, while a lot of people, if they've never done it before, wonder if it's going to feel weird or lonely or awkward, or if they're too introverted that they won't have a good time, many people say that they absolutely love cruising solo and that once they get on the cruise ship, they end up finding out that many more people are cruising solo than they ever knew. And once people have cruised solo once, they say it's a little bit like cruising. They will do it again and again and again. Now, I hope that this video was helpful if you are considering cruising solo. And if you have cruised on your own, could you please share some tips and your own experience in the comments below? I know that it will help other people who are considering it. Thanks so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please do give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I would love to have you here within the Life Well Cruise community. Bye for now and happy cruising.